My husband Bob was a very fit guy and could feel his body changing. And finally, after 2 years, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. It was a life-changing moment, and it became our diagnosis from that day forward. We lived our best life for 21 years with tennis, biking, and for him, golf, pickleball, and boxing. His last day at home, Bob had his online boxing and felt really tired, and when he awoke, he couldn't remember how to eat or sit down, and he was admitted to the hospital. He had an unknown infection and was semi-conscious for 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks, he was moved to a huge wheelchair where he was restrained, and he hated it. But having unusually warm weather, I was allowed to take him outside for long walks, and all he wanted to do was to be able to walk, knowing he could not go home earlier until he did. And he hated more than anything to use his diaper. He wasn't one to complain, but one nurse insisted, just use your diaper. At 4 weeks, we went to a hospital park, and the first thing he said to me was, "I want Maid." I had to promise to speak to a doctor before I went home, and I sobbed all the way home, and probably all weekend, but never in front of my husband. It was a difficult and long process, but was approved 6 days later. The minute it was approved, I went to the desk to say, "I'm taking him home," and the wonderful ward nurse arranged the transfer. And Bob, true to himself, was walking with a walker the next day. Bob had 12 days of visitors in groups of 6. It was COVID. Seeing or talking on Zoom to 150 people. And at breakfast, I read him emails or texts from former students. Friends organized a garden of photos that friends had dropped off for us to see one morning with loving messages attached. I was so grateful that he was able to feel the celebration of his life with a house full of flowers and his favorite cookies. Our house indeed was filled with love and laughter. His last day we spent alone with our dog, me wanting to make sure he'd not changed his mind, and he worried that I would remember to pay the taxes. But we laughed, and we cried a little too. Maid was a difficult choice for us both, but it was the best for him. Parkinson's is a dreadful disease, and he had suffered for so many years. And I am so grateful that he is no longer suffering, and his peaceful passing was something we could both share.